I've known Pete for a long time, and we'll be on some gigs like, yeah, we play with the Temptations or something, and I see him backstage and, hey man, what's going on? And he's like, I rode 22 miles today up Boulder Canyon. It's like uh you never know what's going on in people's lives outside of when you're with them. And so what you were telling me, your side hobby is being active, but what are some of your favorite activities?
Biking, of course, road biking, just getting out. I've been getting into hiking and trying to explore all the trails in Chautauqua, just starting with that first, climbed up Bear Peak last week. I'm just trying to push myself a little bit physically, mentally, because you get to the top there, it's like you're just going over rocks. And I got a little bit of fear of heights, but I was like, man, just push through this. Um, I love getting on a wetsuit and going swimming in San Francisco Bay, which I do just only once a year with my brother. But that's another like challenge. Like you dive into this 55-degree, 60-degree water, and you struggle a little bit mentally, physically. But then you get out there, you look back at the skyline. It's like, oh, this is fantastic. So I love doing stuff like that. It's not dangerous, but it's just pushing your physical limits just a little bit more than you might think. It's a lot of it's in your mind. So I swim. I play ice hockey, although I'm not playing right now because of the COVID time. But anything that's engaging my body and physically just seems that's something I gravitate towards. So
I think that's awesome. We're lucky to live here in Colorado. The weather is usually quite nice, and even if there's a blizzard, even that's kind of fun. But then you're almost guaranteed the next day it's going to be pure sun.
yeah,
And even if it's 40 degrees, 30 degrees, it still has this freshness and inviting aspect to it where you want to get out in it.
for sure, man. I remember when I was in college, I would come out here to visit my brother and we would ski. I was living in Illinois at the time, and I just remember thinking like one day I'm going to live here in Colorado. And
Nice.
yeah, via Portland, via Oakland, California, and then finally made it here.
We should bring up the point that in your band Polarity, you have a little band member in there that's part of your family, right? So tell us about Patrick.
Yeah, Patrick, my son, who is now 30, and but a great drummer. And I just getting to play with your kid um, at that level is just something else. My daughter is also a wonderful musician. She plays guitar, singer-songwriter, and we've done some recording as well. So it's like the kids are doing it. It's like, yeah, it's really cool. So yeah, when we moved here, they were just tiny, tiny.
Yeah, and
So,
then they grow.
mm,
And we gotta give a nice shout out to your wife. Yeah, Claire Church. She's one of the hardest working people. Both of you guys, so nice, so great with the music community here. And I've known her, Claire, for years, playing in big bands as a she's a saxophone player, and a lot of times I'm bari sax. And then she ended up having this hard time with a little health issue. You want to just give us a little synopsis of that?
yeah, yeah. So Claire was like, one of the first call saxophones, especially Barry sax, like you say, and working with everybody. I think the one of the last gigs she did, she was on a road with Doc Severinsen, and she got this condition called dystonia, which is a neurological condition. And she just had this progression of like she couldn't form an embouchure anymore. She was like, "What's going on?" I thought it was my reeds, my mouthpiece, and it just disintegrated to where she couldn't play anymore. And so she started playing drums, and we did a few little coffee shop gigs. And it's the difference for her playing 6 years ago to now is phenomenal. She's just worked really hard. And, there was some real dark times, as you imagine, like, when you're at kind of the top of your career and it goes down to the bottom. But in some respects, as sad as that is, it's her perspective of life has changed a lot. When you are way more empathetic to people, you realize like there's so many people that are struggling out there with so many things. You kind of become in tune with that. And she said that it was awakening for her. So,
Yeah,
uh,
and it's a neat thing. If you really think of it, this is happening for you. Man,
yeah,
there's a lot of situations where that's a tough pill to swallow, but going, this is what it is, and what am I meant to learn? And I'm still a person, and I still have these passions, and maybe I just have to shift it. And so I think that I've noticed of both of you is how cool it is. You're musicians, but now you've created Muse to kind of provide another venue, a really great space is where you're sitting right now. Awesome room. You can have live events there, and now this has been the center of your live stream. So now you've created this new thing. But Claire, instead of then going, well, I can't play sax, I can't control my embouchure, um, now she's a drummer, and she's in this band that you guys have started called Expedition. So that's so neat that she just took her skills and go, well, now it has to be on a different instrument.
yeah, I'm so proud of her and where she's come from. And also with the live stream stuff too, she's the one, like I mentioned earlier, is like got really deep into it, or at the soundboard. She's just like knows it in and out. I was like, man, this is incredible.
And, and
So
what's really neat is that both of you have spent a lot of your career as band directors here in Colorado.
yeah,
And so how neat it is to have people like you who have such a positive attitude to learn something new all the time, this vibrant energy, and then to be sharing that and spreading that to the younger generation. You guys are model citizens of what I think the power of education is, where you're there to help pass it on, right?
thanks, Darren. I mean, yeah, and uh, funny is like when I got out of college, I thought I was going to be big jazz star, and was just doing, or just a musician, just gigging.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, if you have to teach, that means like you haven't made it, man. Like you failed. As a musician, there's this kind of that monkey on your back, and so we had children. I was like, man. So I started teaching full time, and after a while, I was like, wait, this is a gift. Like to be able to teach and teach these kids and make a positive impact in the community, and so I felt really good about that career choice. So,
It's
and I was able to play a lot of great gigs as well, do both.
and I think that's important because you can get in. Did you find that's really challenging to then you're sitting in sixth grade band during the day, and then you have to go to Denver and play this really hard big band music? How did you balance the two?
It was like a cleansing. It's like
Yeah.
I could go to the sixth graders and like realize like, okay, kids, you don't sound very good, but I realize if you keep at it, you can play great music, which I'm going to experience later tonight. So um, I encourage like anybody's listening to this who's a band director to keep playing at the highest level possible, because that keeps the fire in your belly, the musical fire. Like when we had children, we would just take turns holding the baby. Someone would go practice, and then the other person hold the baby. You know, it's just like taking turns, and it took that effort to keep things going. But I'm so glad that we did.